Well, welcome to the next in the Presca Lunchtime series. These are the webinars, and I'm Rob Webben, your host for today. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Presca Sportswear, the world's first climate positive sportswear company that we know of. So we're trading 15 minutes of your very precious time to hear from someone incredible in our network. And today I'm thrilled to introduce you to Isaac Kenyon from the Climate Explorers. As always, we don't have time for questions to answer the questions today, but please do drop them into the chat, or even better, if you join the LinkedIn group, which is there in the chat as well, then we can get the dialogue going with Isaac and kind of keep on exploring these amazing things that he's working on. So without further ado, I've talked enough already. Isaac, do you want to give us a quick 1 minute intro to yourself? And then we'll get into really hearing from you and hearing more about it, Climate Explorers.
Great. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Rob, for the intro. So I'm Isaac. I'm the CEO and founder of Climate Explorers, which is a eco filmmaking company that has revolved around adventures. I have a very adventurous background. I've rowed across the Atlantic Ocean, got a few world records, swum the English Channel, those sort of things. And I love to combine adventure with environmental responsibility. So talking about how we can translate those adventures in a more eco way than what we see nowadays, where people just jet set and then they go for a hike somewhere. I also am a trustee for Mind in Mid-Heart, so I'm very interested in the mental health side of things. And as my other job, which is a company that I work for rather than run, it's called Mapstand, and I work as an energy transition data sort of analyst. So I'm working on understanding how the energy industry is transitioning away from fossil fuels, and then hopefully driving some of these transitions through the data intelligence that we share. And that's what I do on a day-to-day basis alongside Climate Explorers as well. Fairly busy background there.
What's going on? Yeah. Do you know what? Talking about maps, I love maps. There's a brilliant, and this is such a tangent. There's a brilliant website called electricitymap.org, I think, where you can go in at any time and you can see the mix of various different, wind, solar, coal, gas, all these various different things. And I think that availability of data is so important. So good on you for kind of working in that space. What interested me, Isaac, actually, just kind of reading up about your background, you didn't come from an outdoorsy background, really, did you?
No, I didn't. At home, where I grew up in Luton, it was very urban. It was quite deprived in places, and I was very much protected. I spent most of my time indoors, and parks were not safe. So things have changed.
Yeah, I love it. But that's obviously kind of created this desperate urge for you just to get outside all the time, which is amazing. So tell us about your adventures, but also how that's taken you into the realm where you're now documenting the climate solutions. How did you get from that kid in Luton, kind of stuck indoors, to the point where you founded a CIC, which is all about exploring climate solutions?
Yes. Okay. So let's go. So from Luton, I went to university in Surrey at Royal Holloway University, and this is where, fast tracking a lot of problems, I had a bit of a mental health crisis, and one of the outlets for the mental health crisis was the outdoors, going for walks, going for runs, doing things outdoor activity. This was my national prescription to help my mental health, has been ever since. And what they always say is that when you are introduced to environment or introduced to the outdoors and you find a sport, something that you love, you kind of want to start caring and nurturing for it. So what I was doing anyway, before I was in the mental health crisis, I was a very strong swimmer. I used to swim, quite advanced, and I really love pushing myself and challenging myself. So I moved in sort of adventure sports with endurance, so I could continue pushing and driving that sort of side of things. And then what I started to realize was that when you look at the world in a bigger picture sense, and then you talk to people from the who have lived in areas like London when in 1930s and 40s, and how empty and how green it used to be, and how much less people there was, and then the outer areas, and you start to realize the population and the building of infrastructure is alarming at how much we are taking away from green spaces. And then I revert back to when I had a mental health crisis and how important those green spaces were for me to get out of that state. where I was, almost on death row in my mind. I really wasn't in a good spot. And that outlet was my savior. So then I wanted to do something even further and drive change in the way we live with the environment. At the minute, it's us versus the environment.
Yeah.
We're not coexisting very well, and we are winning, but in the long run, we will lose. So we need to kind of coexist with the environment. So one of the things that I did with the CIC, I wanted to create a company that drives innovative climate solutions, maybe provide some behavior change so that people can get involved in these things or create their own climate solutions or invest in these big climate solutions, whatever it may be, to try and help the planet and coexist with the planet. We need to change every aspect of our lifestyle with the planet at the minute, so that we can preserve these spaces, because these spaces preserve us. And that's why it all comes around in a circle.
Yeah, it does. It does. But do you know what I find fascinating about that is the kind of the fact that you self-medicated with outdoors, and you recognize that that is what you needed to get out of a pretty bad place. Whereas, is it 8 million adult or people in the UK are now on antidepressants, which is just nuts, right? And
Yeah.
how can you, with your incredible power of storytelling, get more people to recognize it's the green spaces we need, and we need and we need to therefore protect them, and expand them, rewild them. Yeah, really exciting. There's another thing there that was triggered a point which I saw just a couple of days ago, that it used to be 99% wild animals, 1% humans, and now it's like 5% humans, 50-60% domesticated animals that we're eating, and then 30% wild animals or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Just
incredible. The UK is on. It's funny. The UK is one of the least biodiverse places in the world,
right.
and we don't even like see it in that way, do we? Really? But it actually is one of the least biodiverse places in the world.
Yeah, I need to find the data behind that kind of that quote that I've just given out there. It's probably a LinkedIn nonsense, but I hope it's well. No, I hope it's not true, but I'm worried that it might be. So let's explore where you're going then with Climate Explorers, because you've clearly got a really strong vision for where you want to go and how you want this to affect people really positively. So what's next?
Okay, yeah. So with Climate Explorers, we did have a pilot project film that we did last year. So it was a really good eco film, we call it, where we specifically focused on climate solutions within the UK, grassroots projects to maybe scalable projects. And what we would do is we tied in an adventure where we did a sustainable journey through the UK to then discuss and highlight and share different ways that we can do things differently within the UK in different industries, or the way we live, or how we have forest schools, for instance, on a
Mm,
societal level, so that
mm,
children can then become I guess carers of nature, because they understand why it's important. A lot of the time, people grow up and they don't have any interactions with nature, so why would they care about it? And then they exacerbate the problem further because they have no behavior or understanding of why it's important.
yeah.
Hence my upbringing. And then other scalable impacts, like sort of the renewable energy industry, and how that might be a solution in itself, but also have some problems and consequences. It's kind of a bit with our filmmaking, is we're very unbiased when we go into it. So we're not going with they say they're climate solutions, some of these companies and
Mm,
organizations. We go there and find out, are they really? And we ask some tough questions to them, so that we can see, like, what is their long-term scalable impact? What are the consequences if everyone changed to doing that in that way? Those are the sort of questions we ask, and then we try and find out if there actually are proper solutions. And then so what we did is we did that as a pilot project. It was really well taken in. It was a bit of an adventure as well. We cycled over water as well on water bikes, cycling from Orkney to the Isles of Scilly, which
ah,
are two islands either side of north and south of the UK mainland. And that was how we could see the circular economy and of the Isles of Scilly, and so that we could also visit the renewable energy hub of the UK, which is the Orkney Islands, where they test all the new developments. So it was a really good adventure, and we'd like to replicate this, but this time focusing on different themes, and going abroad and seeing what other people are doing elsewhere. One way of doing which is having a film series production, and that's where we're looking to go next. So then we can learn maybe from places like Norway or Sweden what they're doing in some of their new pilot projects, and seeing if they can be applied in the UK or elsewhere. And it's all about knowledge sharing, really, and bringing all of these climate solutions together on one platform, so that even people, in the deep and depths of Africa, they might have had internet and come across climate explorers, go on our YouTube and see all these solutions and think, hey, we have the means to do that ourselves, and they could do it. And so we want to kind of make it open to all, transparent, sort of story making process. And the way we do it as well is doing it eco. Obviously filmmaking cannot be 100% carbon neutral, because the equipment itself is made from sort of poor commodity, and so we can't do anything other than offset some of that stuff like camera equipment. But we did as best as we could. We wore recycled clothing, and we also ate some sort of like vegan foods and things like that, and whatever we could to just reduce the impact of the production. And that's what we're
travel between when you're making these programs, you travel, how are you doing
that? So one of the things that we're looking to do, and one of the things that I love to talk about, sustainable filmmaking, is how can we go to these places with minimal impact. Well, one way you can do it is the Patagonia model, where you actually get people within those countries to do the production themselves and send it over to us, so then we can share it on the platform. So that's what we're aiming to get involved in. There might be some potential where maybe one or two of us may go over and get involved, but yeah, you can go down, I guess, a rabbit hole where you don't create any production or media. But I think it's important to be able to share something rather than nothing.
Oh yeah, completely. I think there's such a fine balance, and this is coming back to what we were talking with Charles, but there's such a fine balance between, like you say, not doing anything to have zero impact, but also having some impact to have a huge positive impact. If you can nail that and be as conscious and responsible as you can when you're making the programs, but engage the power of storytelling in a really positive way, then I think you're onto a winner there. And Charles has said, a great left field approach to inspire better thinking. Sounds like the type of presentation we need at the Do lectures. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Brilliant. Do you know what? I can't believe it, Isaac. Already we're just ripping through the time, and we haven't got too much longer left, sadly. I could speak for hours, and I know last time we had a conversation, it was so fun, and we could have spoken for hours. So what I would implore is that people check out Climate Explorers, get stuck into the chat on the LinkedIn groups. And now if we can go for 3 quick fire questions, Isaac, that I'm asking everyone each week, that would be amazing. So what does community mean to you, and why is it important?
I think community to me is very important, because it's what stabilizes your lifestyle, like your life. I think without people supporting you, or sometimes I even go a bit spiritual with community, and I think that the environment and animal, everything is part of the community. But on a people level, I think it's very important that we keep each other up, and we keep in tabs with each other. And I think if you're on your own, try and reach out to someone to build your community, because then they can help you when you're feeling down. And from a mental health perspective, so community for me is vital, just to keep in that mood level up. And also it's how you galvanize things, right? One person can only do one little thing. You've got a community of hundreds of thousands, you can drive huge behavior change, especially with the planet. So communities should be valued quite highly.
Amazing. Okay, amazing. Something else we should value quite highly. Why is climate important?
Yeah, definitely.
Why should we care about the climate?
I would say caring about the climate, or caring about the environment, or whatever it is, you are part of it. You cannot ignore what you're part of. That's how I'm just going to leave it there. I think most people can come to the realization from that.
Yeah, we've done everything we can in the past to separate ourselves from climate.
If it goes wrong, you go wrong.
And so what makes you feel positive? That you've had some dark times. What makes you feel positive and get out of bed every day now and do what you do?
I just love hearing people trying to make great positive change. I think I like to be inspired as well as share what people are doing. That's what makes it really positive. Like someone's going to change a little small thing that makes quite a negative impact on the environment. That for me is really positive. I love those sort of people who are against the grain. They're like, the whole society is saying do it this way, well, I'm gonna say I'm gonna do it this way, and I'm gonna stick with my guns and try and make something really good here. I love those people, you know,
Yeah.
those knights in shining armor.
Yeah, do you know, every week when I've asked that question, everyone comes back and says it's the people, it's the people, and
It is
I
the
totally agree. And that's why you're on here. I love sharing these stories, so thank you for coming and talking to everyone. Gosh, it's gone already, 15 minutes.
people.
Yeah, so what have we learned? So we've learned, I think, do you know what the most important message for me here, Isaac, is that you don't have to be from a privileged, grew up in the countryside type of background to get this stuff and to really, really care about it. So thank you for sharing your story about, where you've come from. Um, yeah, I hope everyone's found that as stimulating and exciting and positive as I have. Isaac clearly has so much passion for this, as you can tell, and thanks for coming on to share that. If you've enjoyed today's session, then please do jump into the Sustainability Changemakers group on LinkedIn, where we can keep this conversation going. The more of us in there, the more kind of driving positive change. I think we can, really, really see some great stuff coming out of it. Next week, I will be speaking with Louisa Holbrook, who is the sustainability manager at Brompton Bikes. And, they're a big company. They've got an amazing new factory in the west of London. Was lucky enough to go there recently, and they're doing some really great stuff from a sustainability perspective. So yeah, jump into that call. It should be super, super fun. And until then, have a brilliant weekend. Hope you get out and spend time in nature, recharge, and come back and fire on all cylinders next week. Cheers, Isaac. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.